So all the way back in November of 2024, I launched a brand new series on the channel looking at all of the hundreds of different secrets and hidden details inside of Gran Turismo 7. However, that was a fairly long time ago now, and it's currently June 2025, and today, well, I'm only just bringing you part number 2. However, I do promise this will now be a monthly series in which we'll go 10 at a time, looking at every single hidden detail inside of Gran Turismo 7. And if you do have some suggestions that you might think I may miss along the way, then feel free to pop them in the comment section down below. And for those of you that may miss my first batch of hidden details and secrets in Gran Turismo 7, I will have it linked on the end screen to this video so you can go back and watch it at the end of this one. Anyway, let's get into it. Number 1, the GTR Nismo Speed Beep. Now, it's certainly true when it comes to Gran Turismo 7, many different cars have many different quirks about them, but perhaps the most notorious and annoying is the R32 Nismo GTR and its notorious speed limit warning beep. This will not be heard in chase cam or the bonnet view, however go in car or on the bumper cam and head to 65 miles per hour plus or the kilometer equivalent and you'll hear this. Now, in at number 2 is something that I didn't even notice until very recently, and I don't know how I've missed it for so long. Your wiper speed will change depending on the scenario you're in. So of course, if you're in dry conditions, it is completely off. However, when it starts raining, it will not actually stay at one single speed. So let's say if you're in light rain like I am here, then of course it will be toggled to on. Again, not working overtime to clear the windshield. However, if it gets into heavy rain conditions, it will then speed up to its maximum setting and be working overtime to try and keep that rain off the windshield and keep your visibility fully clear. I just thought this was a really nice touch that it's not just kind of toggled on or off, and it will actually speed up depending. So up third on this list is glowing brakes. Now this is something we see in a lot of racing games, however it goes incredibly in depth when it comes to Gran Turismo 7, and of course it is very dependent on the car you're using, the type of brakes it has equipped, or whether you have something equipped like racing brakes or of course the carbon ceramic brake kit. So here are just some examples. This is a Daihatsu Copen with racing slotted discs. As you can see, it does light up very slightly and cools down incredibly quickly. However, this Hyundai with carbon ceramic lights up like a Christmas tree and will actually take a fair amount of time to actually cool back down again and get that glow to fade away, which I think is an incredibly nice touch and a really nice attention to detail. As you can see here, after high speed braking and really slamming on the anchors, it takes a massive amount of time for the glow to just fade out. Fourth on the list is perhaps the most commonly known point on this list, and that is going to be the amount of spectators. Now this will change depending on what kind of mode you're in. So something like a race here, the stands will be absolutely packed and brimming to capacity pretty much everywhere you look. It very much mirrors sort of real life, where the bigger the event, you're going to have packed, stands full of spectators. And then of course, if you go into something like time trial, there's going to be a real lack of them, where they're sort of really spaced out and just kind of dotted around in the stands, kind of mirroring something like a testing session, of course for cars in real life, or more of a track day scenario. The best way to see it more in detail is the photo mode. So this is just to the left of turn 1 at the Nürburgring GP layout. As you can see, in a race it is absolutely brimming to capacity with only a few spare seats. However, if we go over to time trial, as you can see, it is a lot more spread out, and I think this is a really nice touch, just kind of mirroring what's going on in the actual event and the scale of it. Number 5 is the dry line, and I'm also going to be talking about the actual size of the track and the puddles and such. So I set up a 10-lap wet race here, where the first half would be heavy wet and that would fade away, and then of course when we get to the middle of the race, the wipers will turn off, the rain will stop, and of course the sun will start breaking breaking through and begin the drying process of the track. Now, a dry line in a racing game is incredibly common, however it is typically very set in stone, but when it comes to Gran Turismo 7 it's incredibly detailed. So the line that your car's taking, you can sort of see the tyre marks where it's starting to sort of dry out that portion of the track. You'll see a lot of puddles on the side of the road which will start to reduce inwards, and of course the parts of the track that a car doesn't typically use will still contain built up water. Same with the grass, because it got so saturated from the rain, it will then remain wet for a very long time and sort of pretty much dry out in real time. GT7 does a great job of sort of weather immersion. You know, this is feeling like a proper alive track in which it is, you know, currently drying out, so you'll try and avoid the certain sections of the track where no cars are going over it because there's a lot of puddles and it sort of takes the sun to dry it out. Of course, the grass being extra slippy for an extended period of time until once again the sun dries it out, and the same with even the gravel sort of changing colour back to sort of dry gravel over time. I think it does an incredible job. Number 6 is light in the dark. This is something that's been present in I believe pretty much every Gran Turismo game I can think of, that once you enter a darkened area, your lights on your car, if they do have them, will turn on automatically, and then once again when you leave that area and get back into the daylight, they will then turn off automatically. This happens constantly throughout the races, and of course typically because you're racing at 100 miles an hour plus, you won't really pay attention to it, but it is something that happens with pretty much every car in the game, of course, if it does have headlights. And again, as mentioned, I believe this is something that's been present in Gran Turismo even since the PlayStation 1 era as well. In at number 7 we have exhaust notes. Now this is something that you might only realise when it comes to a racing exhaust as such. However, every single different type of silencer, exhaust, whatever you want to call it, will actually change the sound and things such as backfires with that specific car. And this is true for every single car in game that can feature exhaust or silencer changes. Number 8, realistic grass. This might sound ridiculous, but GT7 features some incredibly detailed grass. It will not only just move around in the wind depending on the wind direction and such, it will actually be moved around as cars pass by it. Take a look at this. In at number 9, the jacks will change. Of course, I'm not talking about someone's name here. It's a blink and you'll miss it type moment. If you look at the floor here, ready for the pit stop with my old American muscle car, the Shelby GT350, there is a jack laid out and a guy stood over to the left ready to sort of pump the air through or whatever it is and lift the car up off the ground, and of course then take it back down again once the pit stop is complete. So as you can see, the car drives over it, the animation will go into the pit stop animation where they change the tyres and add the fuel, which the car will be lifted, and then it will be dropped back down. However, if you do this in a race car that features air jacks underneath, that is completely absent, and the guy that is, there to pump air is completely absent as well. As you can see, it will just use the air jacks underneath the car and completely remove the jack off the floor and the extra guy during the pit stop, which I thought was an incredible detail. As you can see, we did it with a Group 1 race car as well as a Group 3 race car, which both feature air jacks underneath, so there's just no need for them. This again is an incredibly nice detail during the pit stop animations. So in at number 10, and the final one for part 2, is mileage. Now I think it's common knowledge that mileage tracks inside of Gran Turismo 7, whether you've got a car brand new out of Brand Central or a used car with mileage already on it. It does actually track in real time, and of course it will keep track over the entire life of the game and that car itself. However, you may not notice, it will actually do this in car as well. As you can see, this brand new fresh Evo 5 that I've got has no mileage on it, and it will count up in real time and stay that way the next time I then jump in it, and it'll carry on from there. The same with this Lamborghini Murcielago. It already has mileage on it, but not only does it count the overall mileage, it does have a trip counter as well, which is absolutely awesome. And with that, we conclude part 2 of the hidden details and secrets inside of Gran Turismo 7. These videos will now be on a monthly basis, so in July I will be bringing you part number 3. If you did enjoy this, feel free to leave a like, comment and subscribe, as I'm trying to hit 60,000 subscribers on the channel come the end of the year. I'll also have the likes of my Twitter or X as well as my Discord for League Racing in the description down below. So if you want to do some League Racing and get involved and of course get featured on the channel, then head over there. Again, a huge thank you to all of my channel members listed on screen now, and a huge thank you to all of you guys watching at home. I'll see you in the next one. Take care guys. Peace.